Thank you very much for being here. It's already late, and I hope you had a good breakfast. And I will try not to take too much time. Okay, so this work was made in collaboration with Jérémy Lassus at Los Alamos and Yann Brouet at Observatoire de Paris. And I will say a few words about why are we talking about this topic, and mention also the origin of dust particles that are found in the interplanetary medium, and mention the possible survival of those organics during atmospheric entry, not only nowadays, but that is what we are mostly concerned about during the early epochs of the solar system, because they may have allowed an early development of life. So first of all, our motivation, well, of course, that was already mentioned by in the nice presentation you had. You all know that there are organics in primitive asteroids. There are also organics in cometary dust, and you will hear more about that this afternoon in the presentation of Dominique Bocquet-Morvan and George Flynn. And indeed, I was mentioning Halleyfield 2. There is also Griggs Killer-Up comet. There are so many nice names, haven't they? Okay, and the point is that, well, you may have here complex organics, compounds, and we also know that there are impacts. There were many impacts in the early solar system after planet accretion during the late heavy bombardment. But the key question is, could such impact have contributed to bring some complex carbonaceous compounds to the Earth or to any other telluric planet? What happens when that takes place? It's an artist's view, of course. So now, maybe those impacts indeed could have been so violent that organics would have been destroyed during atmospheric entry. Anyway, some years ago we were revisiting the properties of interplanetary dust and also cometary dust, dust found in comets, as far as early solar system impactors are concerned. And we have now even more new results about interplanetary dust, and for those who are needing to rush away, the conclusion is, so here is the conclusion, that comets not only give us clues to the origin of the solar system, and that's certainly very important, but they might also have contributed to the enrichment of the young Earth in complex carbonaceous compounds. And we don't want just to claim that, but we have been developing models that may help understanding what was happening. Well, I like this picture of my colleague Marco Fulli of zodiacal light. I'm not sure you have ever seen it, because you need to have a very clear sky, possibly be in altitude, in low elevation. And well, that is called zodiacal light. It's a light that is scattered by interplanetary dust, this dust that is in our solar system, and which gets more and more dense when you get closer to the near ecliptic symmetry surface and when you get closer to the sun. Well, we can study this interplanetary dust, not only contemplating zodiacal light, but also through the thermal emission of this zodiacal dust, and also through impacts on space probes that are in the solar system. And we know that there are some sinks for this dust. The main sinks is that dust particles are colliding and also eventually evaporating when they are getting closer to the sun under Poynting-Robertson effect. There are also other things, like the fact that very tiny dust particles are blown away by the solar radiation pressure, and also the fact that you may have impact on planetary bodies, of course. If you have some things, you certainly have also some source. This dust is coming from comets, as you can see, through meteor streams and cometary trails, through asteroids, as you can see from Iowa's dust bands. And there is also some dust that is going away from the giant planet Jupiter and Saturn environment, and also some interstellar dust that is reaching the outer fringe of the solar system. The main source have been for a long time discussed to be discussed between cometary source or asteroidal source. And one way of learning more about those objects is to look at the zodiacal light and invert the observation, because of course when you are in the solar system you are looking through the zodiacal light, and along your line of sight the distance to the sun and even the phase angle is changing. To make a long story short, I should say that when you are getting closer to the sun, the albedo is increasing, which means that the dust particles are possibly whiter or smaller, and the linear polarization, which is a way of describing the physical properties of the dust, this linear polarization is decreasing when you are getting closer to the sun as a fixed phase angle. And even for those who are not familiar with linear polarization, that means that the properties of the dust particles are changing, because if the intrinsic properties were not changing, you would just have here a nice line. Well, no, so we have been trying to model this kind of results, assuming that either the composition of the interplanetary dust was consisting of kind of astronomical silicates, or of dark absorbing organic compounds, or that it was both of them, and also assuming that there were either compact particles or aggregates or both. And here are some results with try to show you that to model the polarization as a function of the phase angle, we do need both compact grains and aggregates. If you don't have both of them, if you don't have silicates and organics, it doesn't work. And you see it very nice here, a very nice fit of the distribution of the polarization as a function of the solar distance, and you see that it could be expected, but now it's more clear that this decrease in polarization is related to a decrease of organic compounds, of course. When you get by here, it's too warm and they evaporate. So where do we go there? We can say that we have indeed these kind of particles in the cometary dust. Indeed, it will be more discussed this afternoon. We know that in cometary dust there are indeed complex organic compounds. We know also that there are porous particles in interplanetary dust. Actually, the mean density of interplanetary dust in Halley Comer was about 100 kilograms per cubic meter. And from this approach, we can conclude that more than 50% of dust in the inner zodiacal cloud is coming from comets. And there is another approach that has been developed, a dynamical approach that has been developed by Niels Vorny, and they even found that about 85% of interplanetary dust at Earth is coming from Jupiter family comet. So you can say that there is a most significant fraction of interplanetary dust originating in comets, in the vicinity of the Earth, as we can say, when IDP, interplanetary dust particles, are collected in the stratosphere. But now it's kind of demonstrated. So we now want to know what happens to these organics when they are entering the atmosphere. And we can make a classical physical computation which allows us to estimate the temperature depending of key, which is a ratio of the particle surface to its projected surface. And you understand that for irregular particles, and even more for this kind of irregular particle that we model with fractal aggregates, then you have this value that is getting much bigger, about time bigger than for a sphere. And so it seems like the morphology of cometary dust particles is really favorable to make possible the survival of some organics. To make things more precise, we have been trying to estimate the critical radius of non-completely ablated particles that reach the surface of the atmosphere. And this critical radius is, of course, larger for irregular compact particles and aggregates than for spheres. And you can see here on this figure the temperature of following OPIC, for instance, and for an entry velocity of 30 kilometers per second, where you see between spheres in red and between here irregular particles and now very fluffy porous particles. And there is also developed, and that is more detailed in a poster, a Monte Carlo method to see what is really going on as far as the temperature of those particles is concerned. You can see here, and that is not a surprise, of course, the faster we go down in the atmosphere, the warmer it is. It's not a surprise. Now here, more interesting, you can notice that you have the same kind of all-around temperature for a sphere and for an aggregate that has the same gyro radius. Those are aggregates with a fractal dimension of 2.1 about. And now if I take even here this kind of small animal that is a small aggregate indeed, you see its size, and you notice that in the aggregate's interstice there are some areas where the temperature is significantly lower. So to conclude and to make a summary, I should say that recent results together with those approach show you that there is really a link for for cometary dust that we see here in the dust coma and in the dust tail to interplanetary dust to the vicinity of the Earth. And the morphology of those particles, because they are more efficiently decelerated in atmospheric entry, allows them to bring back possibly more material.